What is going on, guys? We're back here today. It is me, your host, Blunder777. Today, False Swipe Gaming, he gave me the keys to the channel. And we're going to be doing a little competitive discussion. We're going to be talking about the future Pokemon. But I lied. My boy is here with me, absolutely.
What's up, everyone? What's going on? We have my boy, the GOAT, Blunder, and we have me.
Give me such praise. Giving me such praise. You actually have more subscribers than me, so if you say I'm the GOAT, I think it's actually, like, true.
Yeah, but you have more views than me right now in this very moment. I checked, bro.
You're a good guy. You're a good guy. But we're back today, guys. We got the second part of our Paradox video. Go check out the first part if you haven't already. That was the past forms, and now we have the future forms, the other 8. We had a blast recording the first part. Now we got to talk about these other, just the strongest Pokemon that they really introduced in this generation.
Yeah, and they all look sick. I guess we'll get right into it. So the first one we have is Iron Tread, which is the future form of Donphan and the future counterpart to the GOAT, Great Tusk.
Yeah, we already talked about Great Tusk. We talked about Great Tusk for like 10 minutes. We couldn't stop talking about Great Tusk. It was too good. We have Iron Shreds now, which is the Steel Ground counterpart instead of ground fighting. So how many times have we had Steel Ground in the past? We had on Excadrill. So it's that typing, which you've seen before. It's the Rapid Spinner in like this generation, one of the few that can beat Golden Go, at least in singles, since that's the most common form of, you know, blocking, Rapid Spin, and Defog and all that. This thing is really fast. 106 speed, which I really didn't expect, but that's a great speed tier in the current metagame. It's faster than a lot of the annoying Pokemon like Chi-Yu, and even like a lot of the old, like the Paradox Pokemon we were talking about. Stuff like Sandy Shocks, Great Tusk, Slitherwing, they're all way slower than Iron Treads, so the fact that they gave us a fast Donphan was really cool competitively. Like, this thing has an awesome spot in the metagame, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's also on more like defensive-oriented teams than offensive ones because Great Tusk is the one that hits everything.
Right, yeah, because they gave Great Tusk the 1000 attack and the headlong rush and close combat and all that. Iron Treads, for sure, you see like a little more defensive, but Iron Treads, it's nice because you can actually like take advantage of such a high speed stat to where stuff like we're saying Golden Go never would be a threat to you. It is actually pretty decently bulky on the special side as opposed to Tusk. It has like a good amount of SPDF, and I don't know. I just like Iron Treads a lot. I find like it's a really solid spinner, and in some cases it's even more consistent than Great Tusk, just because that extra speed and the Steel type gives you a lot more like resistances, immunities. Like Great Tusk on one hand is weak to what? Psychic, Moonblast, all that stuff. Iron Treads doesn't have to worry about that. It trades that for the Earthquake and Fighting type weakness.
And the steel typing is in general is just like a good defensive typing as opposed to
for sure. Yeah, you trade the defense for the offense, right? Like we never had ground fighting until Great Tusk, and then when we got it finally, we saw how amazing this typing was offensively. We've had Steel Ground in the past. Steelix was always really good defensively. I liked it quite a bit in older generations, like in lower tiers. He did his job. He got the rocks up and whatnot. Iron Treads, I think, is kind of similar. This thing also gets Volt Switch, which I guess because he's like a future mon, but I saw a couple of players, they were Volt switching on Corviknight. It would do a nice 15%, but at least they would get out of the situation, so I can't hate. It's definitely funny.
Corviknight is like the main, like that's the most prominent defogger right now, right?
Yeah, it's by far the most prominent one. It's like, because Defog got taken away with like the Pokemon home change since so many move slots got nerfed, but Corviknight is one of the few that still has access to Defog, so yeah, you see him quite a bit. But Treads is like, you know, the more proactive version of Corviknight, I'd say, in terms of hazard removal. It also still can set up Stealth Rock. It still has knockoff. So his support options are all great. Just like Tusk. Like, the support options on both of these guys is amazing. And Iron Treads is definitely one of the better Cork Drive mods, too, as we go over the rest of these. But mostly for me, when I'm using this guy, I like using Booster Energy myself. It's like a new set my buddy put me onto because the speed is really fast, right? 106 base speed. So if you go max speed Jolly, the Booster Energy will activate on speed, give you the X 1.5, and then this thing hits 513 speed. Like, I had no idea this thing was that fast until I ran Booster Energy. And while the attack 112 isn't as good as Great Tusk's 130, it's still good enough. You got good stab moves, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, and having the plus speed in general is like, it can really surprise your opponents. Like, I've had times where I brought Iron Treads in, and because of my booster, I was faster than Iron Valiant or, you know, Roaring Moon or whatever, and I was actually able to scare those out as opposed to the other way around. Iron Treads, yeah, fantastic spinner. That's my favorite set for sure. Just the rapid spin with Earthquake, Heavy Slammer, Iron Head, knockoff. It is a good stealth rocker, but yeah, personally, I would rather run Great Tusk with rocks or something like that. I have not yet used a team with both Great Tusk and Iron Treads, but I cannot imagine that it would be bad to use both. I really can't imagine it would be bad. They're both pretty similar, both are really good and top of the metagame in my opinion. I think Iron Treads is now getting more love in the singles metagame at least. Like in the beginning, people were just really using Great Tusk, which is understandable. It's like the new hype, but Iron Treads is slowly getting more and more usage. People are starting to remember just how good it is to have a steel type on your team. So that's about it for Iron Treads.
Next, we have Iron Moth, which is the future counterpart to Slitherwing, which are both based off of Volcarona.
So yeah, I love this guy's design. He looks very futuristic. Like, I mean, it does look a lot like Volcarona, a lot more than Slitherwing, who again looks like Wurmple. But Iron Moth definitely, he gives me the vibes of like a Mega Volcarona. Like he's like Volcarona that got like rolled out with like a rolling pin. Literally, that's what it looks like to me.
It's like a Volcarona Digimon. Like they had Metal Greymon. This is Metal Volcarona.
This is Volcaromon, literally. But this is, this mon is like, you know what? This goes back to what we were saying before when we were talking about the past forms and how even though a lot of these Pokemon, like they're all mainly 570 BST, the concentrations were really good. Like the reason Mons like Fluttermane went on to Ubers is because even with 570 BST, they concentrated the good stats completely. And so I think the same is with Iron Moth, right? You see mediocre attack, defense, and just a decent HP stat, and then the special attack, special defense, and speed are all really, really good. Like this thing is it's pretty underrated. I really love its typing, Fire Poison. We were so used to running Volcarona in the Generation 8, right? And in Generation 8, you have to use heavy duty boots because it's 4 times weak to Stealth Rock. It would still get used in, Gens 5 through 7 Volcarona, but it was a little bit tougher. You always needed to have Rapid Spin support. You have to have like Taunt on your team. You just have to have so much support to make sure rocks don't go up. Iron Moth only being 2x weak to rocks is amazing because it's a lot less important now. Like you can switch in a lot more times to rocks, obviously. And then you just have a lot of freedom to run whatever item you want. You can still run Booster Energy on this guy. I have run Air Balloon on this guy because he's 4 times weak to Earthquake. It lets you set up on Great Tusk and that kind of thing. I've run Specs under the Pincurchin terrain because you get the +1 speed and then you're still Specs. So in general, this thing has so many different options. And which is why I really like it. Like I like it. I would say that this thing and Volcarona, they both have their own purpose in the metagame. But this guy definitely as like a breaker. You can run this choiced. He has great coverage options, Energy Ball, Sludge Wave, Overheat as the stab moves, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam. So Iron Moth, I definitely like this mon.
Is there any moves that it gets over Volcarona?
I guess
that Volcarona doesn't
Sludge
have?
Wave, and I don't think Volk gets Energy Ball, but Iron Moth gets Energy Ball, which is actually a pretty decent buff because Energy Ball is what, 20% stronger than Giga Drain? So that's pretty nice. Yeah, so those moves, and then it gets Agility. I don't know if Volk gets Agility, but I mean, Volk would always Quiver Dance anyway. And then, yeah, being able to use Booster Energy though on Iron Moth is really nice. I've seen a lot of people putting a lot of work with Iron Moth because the Booster Energy already gives you the +1 special attack or speed, depending on how you EV your set. And then I've seen them agility up, get +2 speed, start clicking Fiery Dance, getting the +1 special attack. You can imagine how that like snowballs out of control and can sweep the opponent pretty easily. Yeah. But it's held back definitely by its bad physical bulk. Like we didn't see this much at all, like in the Palafin meta, just because no matter what, Palafin would come out and Jet Punch this, couldn't do anything. But now, like, since Palafin's gone and the meta is more based around special attackers, I'd say, it's good. Iron Moth still has a great speed tier, and it just hits very strong. 140 special attack, you're still hitting really hard. Has a lot of competition though from that the Dark Fire guy Chi-Yu, because Chi-Yu is able to hit harder than this thanks to its ability, and Dark Pulse I would say is a better secondary stab than Sludge Wave. Not having Quiver Dance sucks, but it definitely has a good purpose in this in the metagame. Like I think it's great as a strong choiced attacker. Agility is good, don't get me wrong, but I really do love just using specs on this guy for attacks. Find it to be really unexpected. And again, like we could see here compared to all the other like past and future mons, the speed tier is really damn good at 110. A lot of mons you're just faster than. Like look at Great Tusk and Iron Treads, you're faster than both. You one-hit KO both, so it's nice. At least they didn't give it Quiver Dance, because if they gave it Quiver Dance, then it would probably be OP. But the fact that it doesn't have Quiver Dance, that keeps it just nice and balanced. Definitely not OP.
Next, we have Iron Hands, which is the future paradox form of Hariyama.
Yeah, so I recently just used this guy. You'll have Great Tusk, and you'll click Earthquake, and it'll do 40%. And it's outlandish how bulky 154 HP, 108 defenses, right? Because like we see this with all the high HP mons, right? Like what's the other guy we were talking about before? Ting Lu, who has 500 HP. Any HP stat like this, just like this is like Blissey on the physical side to me, truly. I brought in my Great Tusk, and Earthquake did 42%, and I was like floored. I said, how is this even possible? How are you eating up these hits like it's nothing? The special defense is like decent, 68, but it obviously feels a lot better than that is because the HP is such a good buffer. This is our first electric fighting type, right?
Electric fighting? Yeah. I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I believe so. They teased us with Zero Aura, who is fake fighting type. He's just pure electric. Oh, and then Palmod is the other electric fighting, but yeah, I really do like Iron Hands defensively. He just has a really good role in the metagame. Resists a lot of, you know, different moves. Steel, electric, bug, rock, and the biggest one being dark. Obviously, when we have Chiampao, we have Chiyu, all them throwing out crunches and dark pulses and whatnot. I have seen one guy, he got #1 on the ladder, and he had dual screens plus Swords Dance, Iron Hands, and under the screens, well, I mean, anything is good under screens, right? But Iron Hands was specifically like, it just seemed unstoppable. Like, no move could kill this. You could have the strongest Moonblast ever, and it won't kill under screens because this HP is just too much. And then Iron Hands is also one of the best users of Terrastalize because more often than not, we see Iron Hands Terrastalize into a flying type, and then it doesn't really have weaknesses anymore because you get rid of the Earthquake weakness. And that's the most common way to take it out. I really like this Mon. His move options are amazing. Like Thunder Punch, Fake Out, Best Close Combat, Heavy Slam, Ice Punch. Regular Hariyama always had an awesome move pool, so it's nice that this guy has the same thing. I don't think he gets access to knockoff anymore, so that is something, but yeah, he gets everything. Also gets Swords Dance, which I've seen a lot of people use. They like running Swords Dance with booster energy, just because its bulk is already so good that you're able to get up a few SDs. It's not too hard with this guy. Other than that, I'm trying to think what else I saw. I played a guy with this, and he had Assault Vest on it, and it completely walled my Specs Dragapult. I Terrastalized into a pure Dragon type with my Dragapult, and I clicked Specs Draco Meteor, and I think it barely did half. And I was like, this isn't real. I was like, how is this guy so bulky? So, Iron Hands is one of the GOATs, I'd say, in the current metagame. 500 HP maxed out. Spadef hits 250 or something max, and the defense is always going to be very, very high no matter what.
Right. I'm trying to figure out what exactly Hariyama has, because this one actually does just feel like Hariyama, but better.
Yeah, that literally, like, the only thing I'd say Hariyama has going for it is the ability is amazing. Thick Fat is still great.
Right.
Hariyama probably beats Chiyu better because it has Thick Fat for the Dark Pulse. Oh, I guess it beats Chiampao too. Hold on. You may be onto something.
Yeah.
Hariyama regular may be the new tech for OU.
So you trade HP and attack for the ability to take hits from Chiyu better.
But having the electric stab is too big, I think. Too bad they didn't give Iron Hands knockoff. That is kind of weird, but if it had a knockoff, I think we'd see that for the most part. I ran this guy on Trick Room a lot too because the speed is so low. So I had it with some like Revival Blessing, funny stuff. Kept bringing it back because it's so bulky. Just putting in work. It's a very evil technique. But yeah, that being said for Iron Hands.
All right, next we have Iron Jugulis, which is the future paradox form of High Dragon, which is dark flying and not dark dragon.
This Mon is a little interesting, right? Because he looks just like Hydreigon, but like a little skinnier, I guess. And the stat distribution is really weird. So this has a lower BST than Hydreigon. For some reason, they gave it 5% less BST. They took away most of Hydreigon's decent bulk. Special attack is a little bit weaker as well, but it is a lot faster. So 10 base speed faster is pretty cool, especially in the metagame with stuff like Chiyu, who we keep talking about, who is a base 100 speed. You got mons like Iron Treads, who are 106 speed. This is faster than those. So definitely the speed boost is cool. It's still not that frail, I would say, because 94 base HP is not bad at all. 86-80 in terms of the defense split. That's like your standard offensive Mon, you know? Right. Like I always try to look at like, I don't know, like Starmie or Chandelure. Like, you know those classic offensive Pokemon that can maybe take one hit?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of how I look at Mons. Like that with like those 80 defense and a low HP. Iron Jugulis is a little bit bulkier than those guys, so he's in the ballpark where like he can take like a close combat or something as long as it's not boosted by a Swords Dance or whatnot. And the speed works out really well. The move pool is awesome too. Just like regular Hydreigon had like literally every move in the last generations, this guy's the same thing. You trade the Dragon typing for Flying typing, but of course he gets Hurricane now. Has Dark Pulse, Hydro Pump, Fire Blast. A lot of good stuff. Unfortunately, I don't think he has Roost, which would have been awesome. But yeah, just another Flying type that got taken away. Roost. Still has access to Dragon Pulse and shit like that, but not really a reason to have that on your set when you're not a Dragon type. And I was using this on a Quark Drive team, and I had Choice Specs, and I think I was super greedy. Listen, Choice Specs, Modest, and Cork Drive boosted by Pincurchin, so I get the super +1 everything, and I was uncounterable. Like, it was, if you hit Hurricane, everybody dies.
If you hit
That's a big if. That's a big if. 70% is a big if. But this is a fun mon. Like, it's weird because there's a lot of other Pokemon that at first glance are better, right? It's like, why would I use this offensive dark type when we have all the Ruination mons that, you know, just can outclass this thing as a dark type? But I don't think it's that clear cut. Having Hurricane, having the ground immunity, having this type of speed, all these things are valuable. So Iron Jugulis is a mon I think is just a little underexplored. We might see it later on in the future, but for now, I do like running choice specs. It's cool. You even, what's the word? You beat Ting Lu, because Ting Lu obviously cannot Earthquake you, and you can just come in and click Surf or Hydro Pump or whatnot. So Iron Jugulis is definitely a sleeper pick, just because defensively, he's pretty nice typing-wise, and then the speed is awesome.
Would you use it over Hydreigon, though?
Yeah, I think I would use it over Hydreigon, because I think Hydreigon got really hurt with this new generation. It lost access to Roost, which is one of the biggest reasons to use Hydreigon, last generations at least. And then when it comes to running something like Specs Hydreigon, it's like it has so much competition from Chi-Yu, who's faster and is stronger. And so then it's really, really hard to justify Hydreigon over that, in my opinion. Hydreigon does still have the Earthquake immunity because it has Levitate, but other than that, yeah, I think it's really hard to justify it over Chi-Yu or even like Chien-Pao if you want to go with offensive dark type. Forget like physical special split. Those Pokemon just might be, I think in general, not even might, I think those Pokemon overall will just be more consistent with what they do.
So Hurricane really makes that big of a difference then?
I would say so. I would say like because also fairies are pretty omnipresent in the metagame. Even if we lost Tapus and Clefable and all that stuff, we still have our fairies, right? There's still Iron Valiant and shit running around, which regular Hydreigon wouldn't be able to hit with Dark Pulse or Draco. You get Hurricane and 1-hit KO that thing. Even Specs Fire Blast, Oko's Iron Valiant, because its special defense is very bad. And Iron Jugulis is actually pretty decently strong. But yeah, I would say Iron Jugulis is a little bit better than Hydreigon. It's not like way better, but he has his own. He has his own, and I would use it over Hydreigon currently. I could say that much for sure.
All right, next we have Iron Thorns, which is my favorite of the designs because it's a metal version of Tyranitar, and Tyranitar already looks like Godzilla, so this is literally Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, finally we got the real mecha, for real.
I believe, didn't they have something like in black and white? Like there was like some special thing?
I know exactly what you're talking about. PokeStar Studios, right?
PokeStar Studios, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And they're all like 5,000 feet tall. It's super confusing. And dude, that would make me scared as a kid, because Black and White came out, I was like 13. Yeah, in 2011, I was 13. And I remember I was playing, I was like, yo, what is this? Why do these things look so scary? All PokeStar guys were terrifying. They were like 400 feet tall. They look like monsters.
Well, they did have a literal Mecha T-Tar, and now we have the actual Mecha T-Tar that we can use called Iron Thorns. And you know, it's obviously the future paradox form of Tyranitar, who historically has been one of the best competitive Pokemon ever in like every format.
Yeah.
Literally every format.
Literally, if you were ever to do a top 5 Pokemon of all time, Tyranitar has to be in there.
Yeah.
There's like competitively, there's absolutely no way you can make that list and not include T-Tar.
Yeah, I was going over like what would be the longest false swipe videos, and I think it's a tie between Heatran and Tyranitar.
I was just about to say that. It's going to end up being Heatran, Tar, and then like Garchomp. But it's going to be like those guys. It's just going to take forever.
Yeah, so Iron Thorns has a huge name to live up to if it's going to be better than Tyranitar.
Yeah, and Tyranitar even got his own Mega Form, and that one is ridiculously good too. In Gen 6 and 7, that guy's stats are out of this world too. They gave him 30 more attack, 40 more defense. So I was interested in Iron Thorns. I was like, how is he going to compare to the other two, especially because he got the stat drop too. Looking at his stats, he got his special attack axed, so you can't really go with Mix. One of Tyranitar's favorite things to do in past generations, as you know, clicking Fire Blast and Ice Beam on Scizor or Garchomp when they think that they can tank your hit. And because you have a good special attack stat, you're actually able to kill them. But Iron Thorns, he lost all of his special attack, really. It's now base 70. Special defense went down 16 base points as well. And in turn, he got a good amount of speed. So he's faster than Tyranitar, who has base 61 speed. Iron Thorns has base 72, which is like a little bit better. Mega Tyranitar is base 71, so it looks like they just wanted to at least make it faster than Megatar. He did take a big hit to his bulk though, right? Because this thing doesn't get Sandstream, and the special defense is lower. So don't be surprised if this thing ends up getting KO'd by Draco Meteor or something, or, you know, like people, We're so used to Tyranitar never dying to a special hit. Unless it's like Specs Focus Blast, it's never going to happen. So this Mon, it's not Sandstream, and it's a lot less bulky on the special side. That being said, though, still the same Tyranitar attack-wise. 134 attack, and it still has Stab, Stone Edge, which is great. You always want to have an offensive rock type, because Stone Edge is one of the best attacking moves in the game, right? Besides the fact that it can miss, high critical hit ratio, no contact, which is a big deal with physical moves because so many of them are contact. So when you do connect Stone Edge, it's one of the best moves. And given this guy electric typing was also great because one of the most used Pokemon currently in OU is Dondozo, which beats every physical attacker. Dondozo cannot take a Stab Thunder Punch. It does too much. It's forced to rest and then it'll lose the 1v1. So this is actually one of the few setup Pokemon that is able to completely beat all unaware cores. Skeledirge dies to Stone Edge, Dondozo dies to Thunder Punch, and Clodsire dies to Earthquake. This thing is able to cover the entire unaware core. So it's one of the only setup sweepers that's able to muscle through that, which I think is really big. Bulk is still good. It's obviously one of the best Terrestrialize users, just like how we were talking about Iron Thorns, right? And how Iron Thorns were Terrestrialized into a flying type to get rid of the EQ weakness.
Right.
This is the same thing. Because this guy's Rock Electric and he's 4 times weak to ground, that's the set that I was running. Just Dragon Dance, Terrestrialize into a flying type, and then oftentimes you could just win right there. You know, like I had a game versus Great Tusk where I Dragon Danced on the switch to Great Tusk, then I turned into a flying type, got another Dragon Dance up, and then he was finished at that point. I was +2/+2. This thing is still Tyranitar, you know? Move pool is the same though, for the most part, like on the physical side. Tyranitar got all the elemental punches last gen, Earthquake, the Rock Stab, like it's very similar. And it still gets Dragon Dance, it gets Swords Dance too, which Tyranitar didn't get ever, I think. I did see somebody using Swords Dance on Sticky Web, and that was a really cool one. But yeah, you can really go with whatever you want, Swords Dance or Dragon Dance. So it definitely has its options. The higher speed stat, being 72, still makes Dragon Dance a big threat. And with Terrestrialize, it's bulky. So I wouldn't sleep on this Mon at all. I have seen somebody use Stealth Rock and Spikes with Focus Sash lead, but I don't know if that's worth using over something like Garchomp, because this thing isn't really fast. So I don't think a Stealth Rock Spike set is that legit compared to just a full-on offensive setup set, or even Bandit if you want to run. Go ahead, but I would leave the support role to literally Tyranitar the regular form.
So with all that being said, and even with the ability to beat like every single unaware Mon, would you say that is worth trading Sandstream?
Yeah, so Sandstream will always be one of the best abilities ever, right? And making Tyranitar one of the best special defense walls. I think Tyranitar has a pretty good place in the metagame because it's able to take on Chi-Yu, which is, you know, the really annoying, the Fire Fish. We keep talking about him because that thing is just a really restricting Mon in the current metagame. But Tyranitar still has all of its own problems. Like, Great Tusk has 31% usage. Tyranitar is really going to have a lot of trouble with that. Not to say that Iron Thorns is, you know, that much better at beating it. But in general, Tyranitar has just kind of been stuck with a support role this metagame. It's a little bit different than Iron Thorns. I would say that it's easier to put Tyranitar, the regular version, on a team because, you know, you just give him his Stealth Rocks and then you have your little special pivot for most of the game. But Iron Thorns is more of like the, you know, sweep, get the action rolling. So it's definitely more designed for hyper offensive teams.
We love hyper offensive teams around here.
We love hyper offensive here. We love it. But yeah, that's a good question. I would say that they definitely have different roles. Personally, I like Iron Thorns more though. I like Iron Thorns more. I just like being able to make good use of this new electric typing. Tyranitar was always one of the best Pokemon as well because it had Stab Crunch and Stab Stone Edge. Like those two moves alone are able to cover everything. We saw how Dark continued to get buff as the generations went on. Now it's neutral into steel types. So then really all that thing needed was its stab moves. But that being said, Thorns is still great. Has Wild Charge, Stab, Thunder Punch, Stab. He can hold his own. So I think it matches up pretty well with regular Tyranitar too.
Yeah, and Tyranitar from last gen is also missing Pursuit, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that is a big, that is actually a big one for Tyranitar too. If there was Pursuit, I was talking about this with Joey, like, I feel like if they didn't ever get rid of Pursuit, a lot of the stuff that they think is broken or whatnot would probably have been like able to be dealt with. But yeah, that's about it for Iron Thorns, I'd say.
All right, next we have the most recently banned Iron Bundle, which is the Future Paradox form of one of the worst Pokemon of all time, Delibird.
Yeah, so this is the craziest glow up of all time is what they've been saying. That never in Pokemon history has anything been like this. So
yeah, like literally never. I want to ask why, but it's also really funny.
Yeah, the other one is like Jigglypuff, right? Because Jigglypuff stats are like 200. And then the Paradox one is like 3 times that. But yeah, Delibird, when you look at his base stat total, it's a big question mark. It's a big question mark why they took the regular Delibird and turned him into Super Robot Santa. But Iron Bundle, dude, this Mon is so fun. First off, design-wise, I love it. And I don't know if you've seen the shiny form of this, but it's completely like metal chromed out. Like he looks like an insane like metal evil robot. You gotta see the shiny art for this guy.
Look at it right now.
Great art, yeah. But yeah, 136 speed. So I believe this is the fastest Paradox Mon out of them all. Miraidon, Miraidon, they both had 135 speed. Fluttermane had 135, and then after that, Bundle outspeeds all of them by just 1 point, which is great because even though Iron Bundle did get banned to Ubers and singles, he is actually able to check Miraidon and Miraidon because he's 1 base speed faster and has super effective Ice Beam. So 124 special attack, it's nothing too crazy, you know, when you compare it to some of the other guys, right? Like a lot of these guys have 120, 130 offensive stats. It's nothing new. But the fact of the matter was with this guy, Hydro Pump, Freeze Dry, and Ice Beam, those 3 moves together, it was the perfect coverage. And so for the metagame, like that was too much. You already know what the 3 moves are going to be, and then his final move can be whatever they want. They can have Terra Blast Fire if they, you know, they want to do something crazy. They can have Flip Turn so that you can never go into your Blissey. They can just get initiative. They can use Taunt. They can use Encore because the thing was very fast. And then, of course, this Mon is still able to take Booster Energy as an item and use that to get +1 speed. I think as time went on, though, the set that ended up being the most broken was just Scarf or Specs because his speed is just way too good, right? He's faster than everybody on the field. Specs Hydro Pump or Specs Ice Beam, you look at all these Paradox Mons, and nothing on the screen, when we look at all these, can take a Hydro Pump or an Ice Beam. Like, all of these get to a KO by the right Specs move, and it's faster than everybody else as well. You couple that with the fact that it can Terrastalize into just... Usually, it's only going to Terrastalize into one of its pure stabs, Water or Ice, just to get the stronger move. It's just very nice, no drawback moves. Freeze Dry and Ice Beam, great stabs, and they can freeze. And if you get frozen, that's basically a death sentence, right? In competitive, you're not gonna. I mean, all you can really do is just stay in with your Mon and hope it thaws. And if it doesn't thaw, God forbid, they start setting up on you while you're just sitting there. Another cool thing about Iron Bundle is that even though his HP is really bad, with like base 56, the defense is really good, 114. So it's kind of like Miss Drevis in that sense, or Fluttermane actually. How Fluttermane had the really low HP but the great Spadef stat, so it could take some special hits. Iron Bundle's the same way. His HP is really bad, but the physical defense is great, base 114. So he can take a couple of hits on the physical side for sure. Like, I've had this guy take Earthquakes, Outrages. I even had to take a Drain Punch from Palafin back when Palafin was around, so then I could use this thing to kill it with Freeze Dry.
I like that you brought up Hydro Pump and Freeze Dry as a deadly combination, because I think we've only ever seen that. Like, okay, so Freeze Dry is either only on generic special attacking ice types, or it's on physical attackers that are never going to use it, like on Black Kyurem.
Yeah, exactly. When is Kyurem Black ever going to use it, right? And then in some cases, it's like whatever the metagame is, that coverage is sometimes just too much. And so I think what happened with Delibird, Iron Bundle, or is that, well, we don't have all the Pokemon, right? Home isn't out yet. So just given the current Mons we have, only Blissey is like the reliable Mon, I guess, for Iron Bundle, which, you know, makes sense. But even that, you can Flip Turn and Taunt it. So then I guess they decided, similarly to Fluttermane, that Iron Bundle would get banned because they really are just similar versions of each other, right? Frail, fast, special attackers. But Iron Bundle, for the time he was in OU, I had a blast using him. Really fun.
I also had a blast.
It's just cool, man. It's good to see a Mon like Delibird who has never been used competitively because it just cannot be used. Get so strong that they have to get rid of it. I do think when Pokemon Home comes out, though, singles will likely retest these Pokemon because now we have a whole bunch of other stuff in the metagame. It's time to see if these are really as broken as we thought. But Iron Bundle's still good in Ubers. He's still good in Ubers because he's fast. You can pair him with Miraidon, obviously, who we'll get into later. But all in all, it's a shame that he was the strongest of the future Mons, but I'm happy Delibird got his flowers. After so many generations being terrible, it turns out that he had to just become unbeatable.
All right, next we have, not counting Miraidon, we have the last of the Future Paradox Mons, Iron Valiant, who is a Future Paradox form of Gallade.
Yeah, so I would say that in overused right now, this is the best of the future forms, and alongside Roaring Moon, they're probably tied for the best OU Mon by far. But so happy with what they did with this Pokemon, right? They combined Gallade and they combined Gardevoir, 2 Pokemon that were good in, you know, lower tiers. I think Gallade and Gardevoir were both RU in the past generations, but they put them together, made it super fast, fantastic attack, fantastic special defense. The bulk isn't like great, but it's also not like horrible. And Fairy Fighting, we haven't had this typing yet, is it? I believe, or have we?
I don't think we have. I can't really think
Yeah,
of.
we haven't. We haven't. This is the first one. Yeah. So the one thing that I love about this typing, and it's probably my favorite part about using what's it called, Iron Valiant. Fairy fighting defensively has so many resistances to the most common types of moves. Like we were saying earlier, dark type moves, very annoying. Sucker Punch is all over the place now. Iron Valiant 4 times resists dark moves. It also 4 times resists bug moves, so it resists U-turn, which is one of the most spammed offensive moves too. This thing defensively is great, especially when people are throwing out crunches with Qianpao, Dark Pulse, Chi-Yu. Roaring Moon is running around throwing out a Dragon Claw and Crunch. This thing defensively is just, it's great. It's great. And especially because it's an offensive Pokemon, I feel like you get so much out of this Pokemon, and that's why it's probably one of my favorites currently. Still resistant to fighting, resistant to rock, taking these common priority moves. And I mean, his move pool is the best too, bro. He gets everything: Moonblast, Focus Blast, Energy Ball, Thunderbolt if you want to use that special attack stat. If you want to use physical attack, still got Swords Dance, Close Combat. The only thing that this guy wishes he had
Play Rough.
is Play Rough. Play Rough, exactly. You knew what I was gonna say. If they gave him Play Rough, he would have been an unstoppable menace. Yeah. But it's a good thing they gave him just Spirit Break, because I really think with Play Rough, this would have been really, really dangerous. My favorite set on this guy is Specs, but I also like Booster Energy, giving the +1 speed, and then just having 4 attacks with Thunderbolt, Close Combat, Moonblast, going like with a little mixed set. Still strong enough to where I've never felt like I needed a Life Orb or anything like that. Just good stab options. It's great, right, to have a Pokemon with stab option, Close Combat, and Moonblast. Like, what more could you ask for? Those are 2 of the best ever. This guy's coverage is so good. And we were talking about, like, the resistances are not many, right? Fighting Rock, Bug, Dark, and it's immune to Dragon. But you think about the current metagame, Roaring Moon, Qianpao, all these guys, like, you're able to switch into their stab moves. That's a big deal. That's a very big deal for an offensive Pokemon. That can be the difference in a game if you're able to pivot this guy in correctly, and now you're in the driver's seat. All in all, Iron Valiant has so many different sets. One of the best mods in the tier by far. But I don't think it's broken, or it's going to be broken down the line. I think it's definitely manageable.
And finally, we have the new most broken Pokemon of all time.
Yes.
Well, does it give Gen 1 Mewtwo a run for its money?
No, they told me that Gen 1 Mewtwo is the best mon of all time. So I actually did some research on Gen 1 Mewtwo because I wasn't too familiar. And when I looked it up, they were basically saying that Gen 1 Mewtwo, even if you know all of its moves and everything, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It is the best, and the team of 6 is the best no matter what. So if that is the case, then I do think Gen 1 Mewtwo has this guy beat. Because I can't make the statement yet that 6 Miraidon is the best team of all time. I can't make that, especially in a Terrestrialized meta, I can't make that statement yet.
Right.
But from what we've seen, like, I'd say since like a team preview meta was introduced in Gen 5 and all the new Ubers we've gotten, right? Like, me and you were talking the other day about Zacian and how restricting he was on the game when it was introduced. Mega Rayquaza was so good that they had to make their own brand new tier above Ubers. And now this thing is here, and this is Mega Tapu Koko, bro. That's the best way to look at it. Jeez. So looking at the stats real quick, you see really great defenses, 100, 100, 115, really solid, like, balanced bulk. Special attack stat 135, the speed 135. So at first glance, it's like, well, I mean, it's not that crazy, right? Same as Flutter Mane on the offensive stats. However, I think this is the best ability ever, or top five. Hadron Engine. So you want to tell them what this does?
Is it just like Orichalcum Pulse, except it sets electric terrain and all this other stuff?
Yeah, except instead of setting up Sun, you set up the electric terrain, and this guy is an electric type this time. So unlike Miraidon, who is a fighting type, so it can't immediately take advantage of the Sun, this thing is already an electric type. So it summons electric terrain to boost its electric type moves, and then it already gets the 1.3x boost, thanks to the ability itself. So when this guy comes in with a timid nature, it's at 480 special attack after the 1.3 is factored in, and that's itemless. After that, you can put your item on. You can think like the multipliers on this that you stack them. It's outrageous, dude.
I remember you mentioning in your video that there was it had a 69% boost. Yes.
So Hadron Engine, 1.3x to your special attack, and then terrain itself is the other 1.3. So this guy's electric moves are all 1.69 extra strong just because of the ability alone.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I know, right? And then it has this move. It's called Electro Drift, and that's a 100 base power electric move. So it's just a superior T-Bolt in every way, and it does 1.3x additional damage if the move is super effective. So something about this guy and 1.3x effects, just like with Miraidon had that collision course move. This is the same. If it's super effective, it does even more. But I don't know a mon that could take this and have it be super effective and not just get fried regardless.
Wait, so you're telling me it also has expert belt, but just
Yes,
better?
but it's better than expert belt. It has life orb expert belt.
Life orb expert belt.
It's life orb expert belt. Yes, it's this dude. I don't understand it either. They also gave it parabolic charge, which is one of the most awesome moves. The electric type draining kiss, so you can run Calm Mind if you want, which is definitely viable. I'd say. I mean, it's still a bulky mon. You can run Calm Mind, terrestrialize it into a steel type or something, and probably sweep hella people with parabolic charge. It's got agility too, and I didn't even tell you this. It's got overheat. Why does this look like it can overheat? How does this mon look like it overheats, bro?
I guess like if you really charge yourself with that much electricity, you would overheat like a computer. I don't know.
That's a good point, actually.
I mean, I guess it makes a little more sense than Rayquaza overheating.
Here I was thinking,
or V-Create, my bad.
Here I was thinking, no worries. I'm just gonna bring my Steelix out and wall this thing in Ubers, and then I saw that he had overheat, and it was over. Other than that, though, he has Dazzling Gleam too. Some good different options, but this thing is just outrageous. It's the best mon in Ubers right now. That's what they're saying. That this guy just enables everything. Volt Switch means that nothing like Chansey or Blissey is like a reliable answer. And yeah, I mean Hadron Engine, meaning you can just Volt Switch out, bring out whoever one of the Quark mons you want to do. I was thinking that Iron Valiant has to be good in Ubers, right? Ubers has so many dragon types. That's like the core thing. They're gonna have a lot of dark types too. When he fell tall and all them come back if they do. So I see Iron Valiant plus this being like an amazing core in Ubers. And if I play Ubers, I'm probably gonna try to build with that.
Is there a ground? Does a ground fairy
No,
exist?
that's what they're saying. Only a ground fairy can beat this guy, and it doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist yet.
So when they make that, then I guess Dane can probably take 90% from the electric move. I guess that thanks. That's about it. I'm trying to think, but this coverage is so evil, bro. Why did they give this overheat? But I saw one guy run Terrestrialized Fire. So that's he just wanted that overheat to smoke everything in its path. But Miraidon is my pick for just the strongest mon of the new generation. And in the last like 10, 15 years, this is the strongest mon Game Freak's made. It's so crazy to just throw that out, right? Yeah. You think how long we've been playing competitive, and every time we see a new strongest mon. When Mega Ray came out, I just remember we were all laughing because we're like, dude, what are they doing? Like, why did they make a Mega that can hold an item? Then we had Calyrex, which was 2 Pokemon put together. And that was another thing. It's like, what are they doing? And now, finally, they were like, no, you thought that was our final form? Go Miraidon. And now we have this guy. 1 billion special attack. One thing I'll say, though, comparing Miraidon to Miraidon with Swords Dance and Flame Charge is, I would say, a better sweeper. But Miraidon overall is superior to Miraidon, and I'd say the choice set is just way too easy. Even like heavy-duty boots Miraidon, just Volt switching out over and over again and keeping the support.
Right.
It's just too good. Because way too good.
You don't have to set anything up. You already...
Exactly. You just come right in and switch out. These are still Ubers. Their bulk is still great. So, it's awesome. Dude, I'm telling you, like, besides Gen 1 Mewtwo, like you were saying, this guy is him.
Oh my god.
This guy is him. He gets the job done. Yeah, but I love that mon. It's fun. I like crazy mons. I love crazy mons where it's just like, yo, stop making them so strong. It's good. I love the designs of Miraidon and Miraidon too. They look really good.
Well, and that's it. So now we rank all of them besides Miraidon.
Yeah. So let's do it. So looking at these guys for Cork Drive, I would say that Valiant is definitely the most effective after Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle ended up getting banned to Ubers too, but yeah, I would say Iron Bundle was the best. Besides that, would you agree?
I would agree, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think we'll put Iron Bundle first after Miraidon. I think next then Iron Valiant. We were talking about how good this thing is, multitude of different sets. Something I didn't even bring up is that he has good support moves too, off this base 116 speed. This thing has Destiny Bond. It has Thunder Wave. So like you can really run a lot of surprising stuff. I could see Destiny Bond off 116 speed putting in a lot of work. So Iron Valiant, just due to the fact that he has so many different stats, the amazing defensive typing for an offensive mon, it's got to be the second best. From there, I think it gets a little bit closer, but overall, I would put Iron Shreds next up, because just like we were talking about with Great Tusk, the ability to set up Stealth Rock and spin and beat Golden Go, which is the premier hazard blocker, or spin blocker rather, this is a really nice niche. And the steel typing is good, especially right now in the current metagame where people are not really giving as much of attention to synergy, more so just offensive play and getting the right positioning. Iron Shreds can sometimes be really hard for some teams to break. So I think that thing is good at third. Fourth, man.
Is it between Iron Thorns and Iron Hands?
Yeah, I would want to say that it's between those two and Moth, I would say. Like, as much as I like Jugulis, I do think Jugulis is clearly worse than Hands, Moth, and Thorns. I don't know. Iron Hands definitely has a great spot in the metagame because it's used on these offense teams. A lot of times it's abused with dual screens, and this isn't even a Pokemon where you need to send it in with like a Shed Tail from Cyclizard or anything. If you're able to get up a screen, which isn't hard because Grimmsnarl is everywhere, this Mon isn't able to be one-hit KO'd, and in some spots he'll just end the game right there. So I think I'd put Iron Hands after Iron Shreds, and then maybe Iron Moth and Iron Thorns would be tied because those are like two frail but very strong attackers on Moth and Thorns side, and those guys you're gonna get the most momentum just out of like balls out attacking with those guys. Oftentimes with Iron Hands you can go for the bulkier set, you take more advantage of his defense, but with Iron Moth and Iron Thorns I just like throwing out attacks. These guys have really strong stab moves. They make good use of their attack stat, and their moves they get are awesome, right? Overheat, Sludge Wave for Moth, Thorns like we were talking about earlier, Wild Charge, Stone Edge, Earthquake, all that good stuff. And then poor Jugulis at the end. He's not bad at all. It's just that the other guys do their specific roles in the metagame better. And like we were talking about with Jugulis, he still has competition from all the other dark types.
Yeah, I mean, Brute Bonnet also has competition with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's just how it is, right? Like you can only make so many combination of Mons before they become similar to other ones. But Jugulis definitely has his spot with Hurricane. Just definitely a little bit outclassed by some of the other guys. But I think our list is pretty good.
Yeah, cool.
And that about wraps up the video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, learned a thing or two. If you haven't already, go check out the past forms in the other video over on my channel. Another great video we did. And again, thank you all for watching. Have a good one.